We'll see more back on Arise Exchange. The Monetary Policy Committee of Nigeria's Central Bank today raised the country's benchmark interest rate by 150 basis points to 26.25%. Today's rate hike marks the third in the new year, which brings the total to 750 basis points. Let's get excerpts from the post-monetary policy media briefing held by the Central Bank Chief Olayemi Cardoso.
As indeed with any market, there's free entry and there's free exit. And really that is what you expect in any market. Whether it's foreign exchange, whether it's the stock market, whatever, financial markets, this is how they work. And what we've seen is, yes, portfolio investors do come in, and then at a certain level, they go out again. And I know of some who've come in, gone out, and are coming back again. And that is normally how we expect those markets to function. So I think that should context to that. Then the bigger issue, which is the issue of confidence in the market. Because at the end of the day, believe me, if there's no confidence in the market, then we have a problem. And I can say from every indication, we have, from the feedback we've been getting, and I must say that we've had a considerable amount of dialogue with foreign investors, certainly from the time I came to the bank, and this is something that has been consistent. So we have a pretty good feel of what the requirements are and what they look for. We have attempted as much as possible to make the market a lot more transparent. And transparency in our dealings, which of course foreign portfolio investors want to see, and which gives them the added confidence. And we have seen that they have responded very positively to the transparency initiatives, and that has given a considerable amount of confidence to them. The distortions that we all know about, which over time have resulted in a multiplicity of different circulars to address certain things, have also helped in no small measure as we've removed that, so the confidence has also come back. And of course, the issue of backlogs, which was something that I've said in many times, that the reason we had to prioritize the issue of backlogs was basically to give more confidence to those who are looking to come in. Because if you have a backlog, they want you to clear that backlog before they come and invest. That's one. And number two, it really doesn't give confidence that if there's a backlog and nobody really knows where you stand on it, it can create unnecessary anxiety. And that was why it was important that we prioritize the clearance of those backlogs. So collectively, what we've seen is a continuous and renewed interest in investing within the country. Of course, you made reference to the issue of FDIs. Well, again, two aspects of the FDIs as far as I can see. One is FDIs as relate to those who have been here, understand the system, have invested over the years. That's one. Now, what I see with that, because we've had extensive engagement with FDIs in that respect, both locally and internationally, both. And for those of them who have been here and understand Nigeria and have witnessed the different reforms that have been taking place in the financial ecosystem, they are very positive, and they are not looking to. They are looking to continue to invest in Nigeria. And I think when you look at the ratings, the rating agencies like Fitch that recently moved us up from neutral to positive, I think that also gives further confidence to those who want to invest. Of course, the other group are those who have not invested in Nigeria before and are more on the wait and see approach. That, again, has got to be married with consistency in reforms, which I believe we are seeing and which I am certain from the outlook that comes out from the international financial community. And when we talk about Fitch, not just Fitch, but even the international banks who basically look at the reforms that are going on, test the assumptions that are made, and come out with their own recommendations. And what we see generally is a positive outlook from that sector.
All right, Olayemi Cardoso, the Nigerian Central Bank chief, speaking there to some of the questions from the press after interest rate decision. Now let's have some insights into the central bank's rate decision. As announced a few hours ago, my guest is a finance and investment markets professional, Ugodere Chukwu, the founder and CEO at Nairametrics. Thanks for coming at very short notice. Thank you. Very good evening. This is very interesting. Give me your first word on this from Nairametrics on this interest rate hike. Was it consistent with your expectations?
Of course not. I think I was a lot more conservative. I was a
little bit more dovish.
More dovish, more like I was expecting 50 to 100 basis points. So 150 basis points kind of shocked me. Like you rightly said, we're now at 750.
Yes.
Year to date. So
Yes.
far, I think we've probably done 3 or so MPC meetings. So I think what is clear is the central bank is obviously leveraging on perhaps the only tool it has, which is an MPR. And I think it believes that by raising rates, it can somehow, perhaps maybe contain inflation. But more importantly, it kind of looks like the CBN's target is actually FPIs. I think the game here is raise rates as high as you can to attract foreign inflows.
Very interesting. Do you expect a further slowdown or a hold in rates? We're just getting to the end of the first half in just another 1 month. And of course, the next MPC, the central bank says we'll be doing about 6 meetings this year. So we've done 3. Now we've got 3 left, which of course will most likely from between July and December. So let's say we've done the first half of the football game. So you saw 750. What do you expect on the flip side?
I think the way, like I mentioned earlier, that's the only tool they have
left in the box.
moment. Yeah, so they're likely going to keep, raising rates. I think they've gone aggressive now, because they feel like they saw a little bit of slowdown month-to-month inflation for food and core. So maybe that was a bit of encouragement, and I think perhaps, being a bit more aggressive might yield a lot more result. And so come July, you're likely going to see another rate hike, but I don't think they will be this aggressive because...
You don't want to get disappointed again?
They just won't get... the impact at some point is going to be a bit disturbing. Interest rates are really high now, so borrowing rates are off the roof.
Banks are doing about 32% among
exactly,
themselves
35%. For companies.
For corporates,
I think we've seen a few corporate bonds and commercial papers out there now, 25, 26%.
And these are like the market.
AAA companies, paying 25, 26%.
For short-term borrowers.
Exactly. So you can imagine what's going to happen to regular guys out there. So, and that obviously would have impact on prices as well. So I think that at some point, that should be a bit of a concern to them. And I think the CBN also knows clearly, and if you read the MPC communique, it's very clear that they know that the major issue here is, transport costs, insecurity, across the country, pass-through from removal of the fuel subsidy. These are things that are structural. These are things that are not necessarily monetary. And so they know that, the sooner the government starts to fix those things, the better for the inflation outlook.
Because whichever way you look at it, and so when you talk about other tools in terms of inflation targeting, I'm not too sure if there's anything left in the toolbox, as it were, but moving forward. But again, when you look at transportation, if you've got agriculture right, you've got to move the goods to the market, to the store, whatever, to the dining table, from breakfast, lunch, whatever, dinner. So transportation is involved. So whatever you're moving, you've got to use petrol, diesel, whatever it is. We don't have an intermodal transportation system yet like you have in the developed world. So whether we like it or not, transportation will remain very sticky, as we have seen in a few other African countries as well, like Uganda and elsewhere, because inflation is going about transportation. Why is that key, that sector very key?
It's very key because that's basically how you move goods, across the country. And so when you have modern transportation...
And people.
Yes, and people. Goods especially, when you have modern transportation, then you can move products from one place to another safer, quicker, and then with little damage to your products. So typically when you're moving products from the north to the south or the south to the north, and half of your products get damaged because of poor transportation, you tend to want to also recover that cost. And so you pass that cost on to your customers. So transportation is very, very key to the entire thing. And that's why it's a little bit disturbing, because you start to look at this thing and you ask yourself, this looks more like a mid to long-term problem.
So
you're not going to fix transportation in one day.
Infrastructure, logistics,
exactly.
transport logistics.
So we clearly have a logistic issue in this country. And of course, you now have insecurity as well.
So you expect the fiscal authorities to read the tea leaves of this monetary policy and say, look, inflation is not just about get the central bank, Cardoso, go get it. Little mice rat in the room. It's about fixing this very huge backbone of 200 million people, 200 million of us moving around on a daily basis.
Yes, long term. So it also looks like short term. The plan is, look, we know that most of the inflation we're seeing now is also FX driven, right? So let's raise rates as high as we can and hope that, I hate to use that word hope, but hope that foreign investors are going to bring money in. And then when you have like a stable exchange
more
rate,
money.
Yes.
Some money came in the Q.
Not enough, Bosin, not enough. Like I said last time on one of the programs here,
yes,
we need $10 billion, $10 to $20 billion, that kind of size
double
of inflow. That's what you need to have a stable currency. If you're not going to have that, your currency is not going to be stable enough for the kind of inflation tapering that we're looking for. So for me, yes, we've seen a few $1 billion here and there, but it's not enough to actually dent the level of depreciation that we're seeing now. And it kind of looks like Naira is settling between 1.4, 1.5. That is looking like where it's anchoring to, but it's not done yet.
You're not sure whether it's going to be a breakout, because my next question was, what do you think the market should do from tomorrow, Wednesday, in reaction to this rate increase, 150?
I mean, you mean the NGX? And stocks hardly react. I mean, stocks were up today 0.11%, for their own reasons. But what's clear is that I think down the line, you're going to see a negative effect on equities generally. And that's because, I mean, if you're seeing risk-free investments at 21, 22%, probably higher, why are you investing in stocks?
Yeah,
right, exactly. So you might as well just pack your money in treasury bills.
The May FGN bond was done roughly 20%.
Exactly. So you might as well just pack your money in there and go to sleep, of course. And you're now seeing risk-free investment, government securities, giving you yields that are double what you get from dividend. I mean, hardly see any dividend yield at 20%. Hardly ever. Right? Even companies are not even doing return on equities of 20, return on capital of 20%, right? So you're not seeing that happen. So, but you're seeing FGN security at 20, 21%. These are things that never hardly happen, like once in a lifetime, kind of events. And so that is, obviously a disincentive to want to invest in stocks at the moment, except maybe you see very good bargains, and there are good bargains, or you have maybe a long-term outlook, and yes, then you can go into stocks. But like I mentioned, it's usually not.
So this interest rate hike is not good news for manufacturing, industrial, for borrowers, and for demand on the street. Yeah,
and that's also one of the consequences of fighting inflation. Using
with one hand.
Tools. Yes, with interest rate hikes. Yes, because it does have an effect. Because now you also want to grow your economy. We're obviously in a stagflation because you have runaway inflation and you have economic growth.
How much longer 3%. Do you think we can hold this down, hurting the medium and small enterprises, hurting the man on the street, the formal economy is so huge, on which more than half, 60-70% of Nigerians depend on a day-to-day basis?
That's also a major issue because you're now effectively, stifling economic growth one way or the other.
At the base level.
Exactly, because now companies are getting the message, you're saying, look, this is not the time for you to expand, not the time for you to start to raise capital, to expand your business, employ people, increase inventory. You also tell...
Or even raise minimum wage. No, don't go there. I just punch you on that, but yes. So, but let's wrap this up on high interest rates, high inflation, high exchange rate. What's the economics of that? What are you hearing on the street?
Well, high interest rates, high inflation, high exchange rate, three different things. So, high inflation is because of currency depreciation, mostly. And from the CBN's perspective, to fight high inflation, you need to have high interest rates. And with high interest rates, you can attract foreign capital, foreign portfolio investments. And when you attract foreign portfolio investment, that will probably stabilize the exchange rate and then, reduce, the inflation rate. But Boston, that's a huge risk. So if you've done 750 basis points year to date, then by now, we've got to see those inflows. There's got to be a time to say, look, this is when we want the inflows in. Is it going to come in before the next MPC? Are we expecting $5 billion between now and the next MPC? Or are we still on that line of sight discussion that the finance minister promised last time?
Very interesting. We've got to get you back into the room anytime soon. You're just so close to us. Thank you so much. Ugodere Chukwu, thank you so much, the founder and CEO at Nairametrics.